Hi, I'm Mark. And if SVA never existed, I wouldn't. Not just spiritually, I would be dead. I struggled with many things, and I got a whole list of them. I'm not going to go too much into the past, but we'll just start from where my life actually changed and some of who I am. And on February 14th of 2005, I woke up in jail for the last time. A lifetime of addiction to marijuana, methamphetamines, alcohol had taken its toll. I'd lost my marriage, I'd lost my home, I'd lost my recording studio, my career, and had a semi-famous career up here on a stage like this as a heavy metal singer. I was facing 6 months in jail, and God stepped into my life. He helped me get into a work release program and started speaking to me. I thought I knew who God was, but I really didn't. And I started to hear His word. I learned what forgiveness was for the first time, and I met a wonderful Christian family at Squawk Mountain Nursery in Issaquah, where they took me in and they saw something in me, and they worked with me and helped me through a work release program. And I started praying to God every day. And during that time, I met a lady who talked to me about a program called Celebrate Recovery, which I had no idea of. I was still running from my addictions, and she kind of mentored me through that and talked about her church. And I thought, well, that'll be good once I get out of jail. And time went on, and I ended up taking the bus every day from downtown Seattle into Issaquah. And I could hear God's voice constantly speaking to me. And in between getting off the bus and going into jail, which is down by the park, I met a group of people that God kept calling me to approach and talk to. Mary and John were there. Craig Wilder was there, and that was Urban Missions, and that was God's first voice talking to me about SVA. And I wrote, who could imagine that God would call me in a park downtown Seattle to meet a group of wonderful people from Snoqualmie? I could hear God telling me that I need to talk to those people, but I never did. I just walked past them. I observed what they were doing and just kept on going. And finally, after 6 months, I got out of jail, and I with the money I'd saved, I rented a small house in Snoqualmie right across from the Catholic Church. And one of the first neighbors I met told me there's a wonderful church down over at the high school, and you really ought to attend it. And I didn't pay any attention to God calling me that time, because it was the same thing. He was calling me to SVA. And I didn't go. I went across the street to the Catholic Church, where several weeks of going there, and it just wasn't what I was looking for. And then one Sunday, I walked over to the church, and I put my hand on the door, and I was getting ready to go in, and I heard God's voice tell me, I've got a friend being baptized the next day down at a new church in Falls City, and I need to put something into my relationship, put something back. And I could hear it as clear as day, and I knew that I had to do something. And I hopped on my bike, and I rode down the hill, and I showed up in the parking lot here, and there was a jacuzzi sitting outside, and a whole group of people, most of you people, and the other service, and people were having fun. And there was a huge barbecue going on, and kids were playing on toys in the back, and there was a whole world of people that I couldn't imagine. I grew up in the Catholic Church. I had no idea what this kind of forgiveness and Christianity really was. I also, when I walked in, I saw the same lady that I worked with, it was her church. Her name was Randy Sherfy. And her and Daryl attended this church, and Daryl was on staff at that time. And they picked me up and brought me here to church every Sunday morning for about 6 months to help me get started. And that kind of forgiveness in Christianity I didn't understand. I really struggled to run the other way, but I didn't. I just want to say thanks. You know, I don't even want to read this. I just want to say thanks. And so when I showed up here, I weighed 270 pounds. I just got done with an 11-year methamphetamine addiction, a lifetime of addiction to marijuana and pornography, struggled with self-esteem, several domestic violences, and with the help from some of the staff here and groups, Bill Bedell back there, and an opportunity to change my life, they got me plugged into life recovery skills classes. I did a 12-step group. Monty coached me into getting into the Timothy Institution, which, you know, that was really tough because I dropped out of school so I didn't have to read or do homework. Or who'd have thought 46 years later I got to go back to school. You know, but Celebrate Recovery really has saved my life, as well as the people in it. And it's helped me overcome addiction. On February 14th, I'll have 5 years from any kind of drugs in my life. Thank you. Also, in December, I have 4 years from pornography in my life, and I just want to say, I didn't say this at the other service, but there are a lot of people who struggle with a lot of stuff and can never get past that. And I think that that's where we're here, and that's what we're supposed to be doing, is helping people with that. So if anybody wants to approach me and ask me how I did it on any of these matters, feel free to do it, because that's all I've got, is giving that back. The toughest was probably the weight. When I became saved, I obviously didn't lose 70 pounds the next day, like my addictions were gone. I had to work on that. But since then, I've had an unbelievable amount of blessing in my life, and God keeps showing up in my life, and He has turned it around. I was able to go back to Utah, face some of the domestic violence charges that I ran from Utah on when I showed up here in 2004, and God just took that away. The judge dropped all the charges. The threat of going to prison was over with, and it's thanks to letters and people in this community. Just recently, I was able to clean up my past, and I was able to clean up $8,000 worth of debt in the last month. And God just kept pulling chunks out of there, and it's amazing the way He did it. And He also helped me find some communication with my ex-wife, and I was able to pay my back child support off that I'd owed for years. And after I paid it off, thank you. After I paid it off, she sent me back a check for half of it and a letter saying how proud she was that I had changed my life. And she didn't deserve a lot of what I put her through. I think it was really tough to have to face myself and face what I had done in my life. And a lot of that I'm free of. Yeah. I know what it feels like to be free and to be a complete different person. Thank you. So in closing, I have a relationship with my children I never had before, with my ex-wife, with my mother, and most of all, a relationship with people and people who I'm now accountable to, which I never really wanted that. I wanted to do it on my own. And that has become a huge part of me becoming part of a community. And I told Monty a few weeks ago, when I miss, and I'm always here, I'm always back in the sound booth, but when I don't come here on a Sunday, I feel like I'm missing part of my family, and that is something I never had. So thank you, and my name's Mark Lawrence, and I do know what it's like to be saved by Jesus Christ.